Welcome back to Real Family Secrets. Grab your snacks, get comfortable. The people in these stories had every chance to behave themselves. They just chose wrong. Drop a comment and be sure to subscribe. You're going to love it here. My name is Walter Ainsley, and I've managed a public library reference desk in Fresno for 18 years. 2 weeks after I played a recording of my wife's affair in a coffee shop, her partner in an elaborate financial scheme texted me directly. He wanted to meet alone, at dawn, by a lake. What he handed me on that bench rewrote everything I thought I understood about my own marriage. My wife, Denise, and I had been married 16 years. We had 2 children, Noah and Claire, and a life that looked, from the outside, entirely ordinary, comfortable, quiet, unremarkable in the best possible way. About 8 months ago, I began noticing inconsistencies in our finances, small enough to dismiss individually, but troubling in accumulation. Transfers to accounts I didn't recognize, a business relationship with a man named Marcus Holt that Denise described vaguely as consulting. I hired an attorney, a methodical man named Reed, who advised me to document everything quietly before confronting anyone directly. Over the following months, Reed and I built a case, financial records, photographs, evidence of a relationship between Denise and Marcus that went well beyond simple business consulting. I confronted Denise 3 weeks ago, playing a recording of a conversation between her and Marcus in a public coffee shop, in front of witnesses, forcing the truth into the open where she could no longer manage or reshape it privately. The day after that confrontation, Marcus Holt texted me directly. "I need to talk to you, alone." I called Reed that evening. "He wants to meet alone," I said. "Where does he suggest?" He didn't say," I told Reed. "He's waiting for my response." "Then you choose the location," Reed said. "Somewhere public, open, low foot traffic at the time you select. Morning is better than evening. And Walter, listen to what he has to say. Don't make promises. Don't offer him anything. Don't tell him what you do, or don't intend to do, with whatever he gives you. Just receive it." "You think he has something to give?" I asked. "I think a man who reaches out directly to the person he's been working against the day after that person played a recording of his partner in a coffee shop isn't reaching out to negotiate," Reed said. "He's reaching out because the structure has failed, and he's trying to find the exit before the building comes down on him." I texted Marcus back. "Woodward Park, north entrance by the lake, 6:45 tomorrow morning." He replied within 30 seconds, "I'll be there." I arrived at the park at 6:30. December mornings in Fresno were cold enough to keep the casual visitors away. The joggers and dog walkers would come later, after 7, once the light improved and the temperature climbed a few degrees. At 6:30, the north entrance was empty except for a maintenance worker moving along the path on a small electric cart. The lake was flat and gray under a sky that hadn't yet decided what color it intended to be. I sat on a bench facing the water and waited. Marcus arrived at 6:43. He was wearing a jacket that wasn't warm enough for the morning, carrying nothing. He looked older than the man I remembered from a dinner party 3 years earlier. Not older in years, but in the particular way that accumulates when something has gone wrong that cannot be undone by time. "Thank you for meeting me," he said, stopping a few feet from the bench. "Sit down," I said. He sat at the far end of the bench, leaving a careful distance between us, and looked out at the lake for a long moment without speaking. I waited. 18 years of managing a public reference desk builds a reliable tolerance for silence that other people find uncomfortable. Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and removed a USB drive, small and black, the standard kind sold in multi-packs at any office supply store. He held it for a moment, looking at it, then set it on the bench between us. "Everything is on there," he said. Text messages going back 14 months, 3 audio recordings she made of her own planning conversations. She recorded them herself, I think, to have leverage over me if things went wrong. Photographs, financial records she kept separately from whatever she gave the accountants. "Dam latidrindrind, gaisen hifomdi, komdi." He paused, There's a folder on there labeled D Notes. Read that one first. Dean, I asked. Marcus looked at the lake instead of answering directly at first. Things she said about you, he finally said. Over the years, she told me you were infertile, that Noah and Claire were donor-conceived without your knowledge. She used that to justify. He stopped. Gaiduman. I sat with that for a moment, the lake wind moving slightly across the surface of the water. She said it meant the assets were never really yours, Marcus continued quietly, in the way a husband's assets are, that she was entitled to. He stopped again. She was not telling the truth, I said. It wasn't a question. I don't know, Marcus said. I believed her for a long time. I'm not sure when I stopped. He turned and looked at me directly, for the first time since sitting down. I'm not going to insult you by pretending I did this because I suddenly grew a conscience, he said. I'm doing it because I spoke to a criminal defense attorney on Wednesday, and he was very clear with me about what my exposure looks like if the fraud investigation proceeds with the documentation currently in your attorney's possession. He held my gaze. I am doing this to protect myself. I want you to know that I know that, and that I'm not asking you to think better of me for it. I looked at him for a moment. There was something almost restful about a man who didn't pretend. I understand, I said. I reached out, picked up the USB drive, and put it in my coat pocket. I stood up from the bench. Marcus stayed seated, still looking at the lake, his jacket still not warm enough for the morning. What I found in that D Notes folder over the following days confirmed and expanded everything Marcus had described. Denise had constructed an elaborate justification for years of financial concealment, built entirely on a lie about our children's conception that had never once been true. I had our children's medical records from birth. There had never been any donor conception, any infertility, any of it. It was a story Denise had built for Marcus alone, a private fiction designed to make her own financial betrayal feel, to herself, like something closer to fairness. I brought everything on that drive to read the following week. Combined with what we'd already built independently, the case against Denise for financial fraud and concealment became, in Reed's words, essentially undeniable. Denise ultimately settled rather than face a full fraud investigation, agreeing to terms significantly less favorable to her than a standard divorce would have granted. I kept the house, primary custody, and the bulk of the financial assets Denise had spent years quietly redirecting. Noah and Claire are doing well, thankfully insulated from most of the details, though old enough eventually to understand the broader shape of what happened. I never spoke to Marcus again after that morning by the lake. I understand secondhand that he avoided criminal charges by cooperating fully with the investigation, though his own marriage, unsurprisingly, didn't survive the fallout either. I think about that bench sometimes, the cold morning, the specific stillness of a man handing over the exact thing that would dismantle both of our lives simultaneously. I've decided I'm grateful he came to that meeting carrying nothing but honesty. It was, ironically, the only honest thing about our entire arrangement from the very beginning. If this story moved you, subscribe for more real family stories, and tell us in the comments, do you think Marcus deserved any credit for coming forward?
Soft footsteps cross the quiet floor. A shadow stops beside the window. I trace your name in condensation. Glass vibrates with silent warnings. Lips taste yesterday's arguments. Still searching for familiar meaning. Questions I pocket but never ask. Paper folded, words unread. Brief shortens and late hours hush. If you're reaching, I'm somewhere close. Mistakes painted onto morning skin. Regrets dissolve into bitter coffee. We're waiting for something different to begin. Unspoken, half-lit, unfinished story. You were impatient like perfume. Careful not to break routine. I try to read your subtle clues. kitchen lamplight. Promises crumpled by restless hands. Tonight we hold our hope too tight, swaying gently as the distance expands. If one word could reopen the door, would you say it or stay silent? Some answers live within the pause. Some questions need the quiet.